How's everybody doing tonight? I hope you guys are doing well. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can see me. Hope you guys are having a great Thursday night. We have some major breaking news coming in. Sounds great. Okay, awesome. Glad to hear that. What's going on, Aldo, Lee, Billy, all the moderators? Thank you guys for showing up. Mama of Six, Z Cali. How's it going? Jeff Carrero. Michael Gale, how's it going? Hope you guys are doing well. We have a lot of breaking news here. So I'm going to share my screen in a second, just waiting for everybody to show up. Just going to give it another minute or so. Open Minds, thanks for gifting 5 memberships. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks to all the moderators again. Privyet, John Hoover, Kak Dila. I can speak a little bit of Russian. I'm learning slowly. What's going on, Light Source? When is Rural King going to sponsor me? I don't know. I've never asked them to. I should probably ask. I get a lot of their buckets. I mean, I shop at Rural King all the time, but they have these buckets for sale that are really good for storing preps and ammunition and different supplies inside of them. You know, they have a good price on their buckets. MD, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Heather Murray, thank you for gifting 20 memberships. That's incredible. Thank you so much. Appreciate all the support. So let me share my screen. Yeah, I should have Midway USA and Federal. That would be great. They usually don't sponsor a lot of YouTubers, though, unfortunately. And these days, it's hard to get those types of sponsors. Good evening from Minot, North Dakota. Good evening. How's it going? So I hope you guys are doing good, and I got a lot of stuff to share with you. So let me share my screen here. Stand by. I'm going to take the camera off for a second here. Let me start with the flight tracker. We have a lot of flights tonight, a lot of nuclear warplanes. I know a lot of people hate it when I say this, but I'm going to say it again. U.S. nuclear forces are on high alert. Okay, I know people just cringe when I say that. I always see people complain, oh, how do you know that the nuclear forces are on high alert? This is normal. This is training. So I'm just going to keep saying it over and over just to piss people off even more. So U.S. nuclear forces are on high alert tonight. Okay, again, pretty much every day for the last 2 weeks, they've been on high alert. We've seen multiple nuclear war command and control planes in the air every single day, B-52 strategic bombers, presidential doomsday planes every single day for the last 2 weeks. And we had major news come out Monday that NATO is now considering sending forces into Ukraine, okay? So that is huge news, guys. And, you know, I always said from the beginning of this war that this is going to be what starts World War III. And this is what could start nuclear war is the Ukraine war. I think that's what's going to be the spark that lights the fire. John Hoover says, Greg, my question is, how do they select the flight routes? Yeah, Some of them are random, some of them are planned. Usually what they'll do is they fly out into the Pacific, or they'll fly out into the Atlantic or into the Gulf, and they'll do like loops, they'll do tight banking turns. And that's like when they do that, that's normally when they're actually transmitting nuclear attack options to our nuclear subs, okay? When they start doing the loops like that. And the reason why is they have a long antenna that's 1 mile or longer, and they have to fly in a tight banking turn, a perfect circle essentially, or an oval for that antenna. It's just like a giant cable that they spool out from the back of the plane. Like imagine a deep sea fishing reel. Okay, they have a giant spool with this wire, literally like a giant wire. That's all it is, and they just spool it out and they fly in circles. And when they fly in circles like that, basically, that's how they transmit nuclear attack options to our subs, okay? So when you see that, that usually means that they're transmitting nuclear attack options to our nuclear-armed submarines. Sometimes they'll fly over our missile fields, which is what I wanted to show you guys tonight. So right now, this evening, we had a B-52 that was flying over southern Louisiana. At the same time, we had 3 nuclear war command and control planes in the air, Boeing E-6B Mercury TACAMO planes, okay? We also had a presidential doomsday plane in the air for the 3rd time today, or actually the 2nd time today, and it got aerially refueled and turned its transponder off earlier. Okay, but one of these nuclear war command and control planes, I'll show you guys something that they do periodically. It took off from Omaha, Nebraska, which is where Stratcom is located. And you see it was doing like these loops here in western Nebraska. This is where we have one of our missile fields. And when they do that, it's usually if they want to communicate with the launch control centers, okay, the actual facilities that control the missiles, all right, because they have what's known as the ALCS, the Airborne Launch Control System. So they can literally launch our Minuteman III missiles from the air, okay? So for some reason, one of these nuclear war command and control planes was flying over our missile fields today. You can see it was flying over a missile field in western Nebraska, in northern Montana, and then also in northern and central North Dakota. This is where our 3 missile fields are, guys. Okay? So, this is very concerning. Okay? I don't know what they were doing here, if they were practicing, if they were actually, communicating with the launch control centers. But this is very serious, okay? So, so we got one loop here over western Nebraska, and then we have one here over northern Montana. That's where we have another missile field. And then we have another missile field here in North Dakota. So that's very interesting. And then here we have the presidential doomsday plane that was just in the air like probably an hour or 2 ago. And it went down to North Texas. I don't know if it landed in Amarillo, but it lowered its altitude here near Amarillo, and then it disappeared from the flight tracker. So my guess is it probably landed here in Amarillo. Not too sure, but that's pretty interesting. They probably were dispersing it. We also have some breaking news that I reported like 2 days ago. I have a viewer who lives literally 6 miles from Whiteman Air Force Base. If you don't know what Whiteman Air Force Base is, that's where that's the home base of our B-2 stealth bombers. The B-2 stealth bombers are part of our nuclear triad. A nuclear triad means that you can deliver nuclear weapons by land, sea, and air. And so the U.S. is the only country in the world that has a true nuclear triad, because we have the stealth bombers, Okay, we can actually penetrate enemy airspace and deliver nuclear weapons inside of enemy airspace. Okay, we can literally fly over Moscow and drop nuclear bombs on it if we chose. Okay, so we have a true nuclear triad, the only country in the world that has a true nuclear triad. And so our B2s are based in Whiteman. And so one of my subscribers sent me some pictures, and this person told me that over the last, I don't know, month or so, this person hasn't seen as many B2s flying over their house. Normally they would see like a B2 every single day, or a couple times a week flying over. And now it's at the point where they're barely seeing any B2s flying over, which is unusual considering that they're literally 6 miles from the front gate of Whiteman, and their house literally faces towards Whiteman, and they can literally see the B2s coming in and out. And that's when I heard that was very concerning, because you know what that means? That means that we have dispersed our B2s already. Okay, and what does that mean? Well, in a nuclear war, you don't want to have all your bombers in one base. Okay, and so what you do is, if you know that there's a lot of tensions, you disperse your bombers before the war starts, so it's harder for Russia to destroy all of our bombers. If, let's say, we kept like 60% of our bombers or 70% of our bombers in one base, then Russia could just target that base and destroy a lot of our bombers. So that tells me that they've already dispersed the B2s. Okay, and that's why this person is not seeing them as much anymore, because the B2s are being kept at multiple bases across the country now. They've spread them out, so it's harder for Russia to destroy them if there was a nuclear war. I'm not saying that this means there's going to be a nuclear war tomorrow, but what I'm saying is that we're operating on a very high level of alert. Okay, and Russia has done the same thing. They've dispersed their road mobile ICBMs. They did that last year. Okay, Russia dispersed their road mobile ICBMs last year from their bases. Okay, so the U.S. and Russia, I mean, we are very close to nuclear war, guys. Okay, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but what's going on right now is worse than the Cuban Missile Crisis. I've talked to a lot of people who lived here in the U.S. and in Russia during the Cold War, and both Russians, Eastern Europeans that lived through the Cold War, and then also Americans say that the tensions now are worse than they were during the Cold War. Okay, and the reason why is, like, for example, with the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? That only lasted a few weeks or 2 months, whatever it was. And then they moved the missiles out of Turkey. The U.S. pulled missiles out of Turkey. And then Russia pulled missiles out of Cuba, and it was over, right? But here, things are just continuing to escalate. Every single day, there's something new. Rock Monkey, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Juliana, thank you for the donation. It's actually not my birthday today, but thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate it. And Pork Eating Crusader, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Rodney Middleton, good to see you, and thank you for the donation. Deidre, thank you for the donation. I hope you're having a good Thursday. Yeah, it's not my birthday. I don't know why everyone thinks it's my birthday. It's actually not my birthday today, but thank you guys so much. Tommy Bethany, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So, U.S. nuclear forces are on high alert, guys, okay? I know people hate that, but, it's true. Okay, so we have a lot of news to cover, so I'm going to just continue with more of the breaking news, and then I'm going to check the chat in a little while. I just want to start going through some of the big headlines here. Mama of 6, thank you for gifting 20 memberships. It's great to see you in here tonight. Thank you guys for all your donations. I really appreciate it. Brit Jewel is laughing. Yeah, I don't know how everybody thought it was my birthday today. It's not my birthday, but thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. So let me continue with some more stuff here. So here we have a B-52 that was in the air this evening in Louisiana doing loops. Okay, so lots of nuclear warplanes. And let me see. We also have a Cuban. We have a Russian plane leaving Cuba right now. Look at this. This is very interesting. We have a Russian Special Flight Squadron plane leaving Cuba. And what's interesting is like 2 or 3 days ago, I tracked several U.S. reconnaissance planes that flew into the Caribbean. Some of you guys may remember that update. I'll try to get the screenshots of that later on, but there were several U.S. reconnaissance planes that flew down into the Caribbean. They went down in this area here. They went down towards the Cayman Islands, and then they turned their transponders off. So I don't know what was going on down here by the Cayman Islands near Cuba, but there were like 4 recon planes in one evening that went down towards the Cayman Islands earlier this week. So something's going on down there. I don't know if Russia is going to be moving subs to Cuba and docking their subs there. I don't know, but it's pretty concerning. So I wanted to just show you guys that. And, you know, the big breaking news today is that apparently Moldova has been giving out these notices to people calling for mobilization. Moldova is going to start mobilizing because they're concerned that Russia is going to deploy forces to Transnistria. So, you know, that's you know, pretty concerning. We could have another war front open up. Let me just show you guys some other flight paths here. But yeah, it looks like Moldova is going to be mobilizing people. Okay, you can translate this if you wish. But this is a notice from the Moldovan government that somebody released on social media. And it's asking people to bring certain items. This is from the army in Moldova. Okay. It says here Central Military Territory something. I don't know. But this is from the Moldovan Army. Okay, it's basically a mobilization notice that somebody received. So Moldova is getting prepared. Okay, they're getting prepared for possible war with Russia. And that would be just another war front that would open up and cause all kinds of chaos. You know, they would probably want to try to cut off Ukraine from the Black Sea. You know, that's why they want to go to Transnistria, the Russians. You know, if they can connect to Transnistria, then they can cut off Ukraine from the Black Sea. Okay. So we have to keep an eye on that area of the world. And here we have some more nuclear forces over the U.S. This was earlier today. This was a presidential doomsday here and 2 nuclear war command and control planes that were in the air. So I don't know. I probably like five nuclear war command and control planes in the air today, which is a lot. There's been like 5 or 6 every single day for the past week or so. Okay. And of course, Putin gave his big speech today, the Russian State of the Nation speech. And I'll read to you guys some of the highlights from that. But essentially, Putin threatened NATO over sending troops to Ukraine because, Macron on Monday held a meeting in Paris, and he said that NATO is not ruling out sending troops into Ukraine. And so Putin responded and said, we're not afraid to use our weapons. We can strike NATO. The typical response. He said that, it could be tragic if they did that. Okay. So, I mean, just the fact that NATO is talking about it, that, they actually had a discussion about it is concerning. Okay. Just the fact that they're thinking about it is a huge red flag, in my opinion. It's a huge red flag. Okay. So, get prepared, guys. And here we have that doomsday plane that was airborne earlier, and it got aerially refueled by a KC-135 Strato tanker. Okay, that's an aerial refueling plane, and the doomsday plane ended up turning its transponder off. Okay, which is not something that is too common. When a doomsday plane turns its transponder off, that's very serious, guys. That's very serious. And then here's the doomsday plane that turned its transponder off earlier. Okay, just north of Kansas City, it turned its transponder off. Okay, so you can see the timestamp there. And we also had a U-2 spy plane that was in the air earlier today doing loops over eastern Kentucky. Pretty interesting. You can see here that it was flying over eastern Kentucky and West Virginia, and then it was looping over Columbus, Ohio. So very interesting and very unusual. And at the same time, we had a nuke sniffer plane that was also looping over Kentucky. So, our nuclear forces are on high alert. I know people hate when I say that, but it's true. I'm sorry that, the truth bothers you, but I can't do anything about that. If you don't like that, then, I guess take it up with God. I don't know what to tell you. If that really terrifies you so much, that's not my problem. I'm just reporting the truth here. And if you don't want to hear it, then that's fine. Don't listen. I'm not forcing you to. John Hoover says 6,000 Ukrainians crossed the border into Romania. Are they Romanian troops, or are they Ukrainian troops? Are they preparing to deploy? That's pretty interesting. I haven't heard that before, but that's very interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Thank you. So let me continue here with more breaking news. We had this B-1 bomber take off from northern Sweden, and it went towards the UK. And I don't know where it went after that, but that was last night. Maybe it went back to the US. I don't know, but it had several aerial refuelers with it. I can't imagine that they would suddenly deploy a bomber and then send it back to the U.S. afterwards. I can't imagine they would do that. So I don't know where this thing went, but it went all the way from northern Sweden. They've been based out of Luleå. I don't know if I'm saying that right, or Luleå in northern Sweden. That's where Sweden has some of their most elite fighter jet squadrons. And they've been doing practice bombing runs, obviously without bombs, together, the Swedish Air Force and the U.S. Air Force. Okay, so the Swedish Air Force was escorting the B-1, or they were escorting it and doing drills, escorting it. So, so it's pretty crazy, guys. Nelly Girl says, Greg, I listen to this channel for the truth. Thank you, Nelly. I appreciate it. Edward says, God's warrior. Yeah, I try my best. I try my best. So this is very interesting, guys. We now have two B1s stationed in northern Sweden. Okay, and from there they can deploy basically anywhere. Okay, so very serious. That's a serious firepower. One of those B1s can carry multiple U.S. weapons, all different kinds of cruise missiles, gravity bombs. They can carry over a dozen air-launched cruise missiles, and they are nuclear capable. They're not deployed with nuclear weapons anymore, but they can be. Okay, they have an internal bomb bay, so they are nuclear capable. We had a ton of reconnaissance over Poland last night. Check that out, guys. I mean, we had RC-130. We had two RC-135s. We had a Swedish plane. Pretty insane, guys. Okay, one of them was circling Kaliningrad and flying along the Polish Kaliningrad border. And then there was another one flying along the Lithuanian-Belarus border. So they're focusing on this area here, guys. They're focusing on northeast Poland and Lithuania. That's their main focus in all these reconnaissance flights in the Baltics. That's where they're focusing all their efforts, around Kaliningrad and Belarus. And then some focus in Estonia. There was one that went up to Estonia and was looping near Narva. Here's a closer look. I mean, look at this, guys. This is crazy. Something's definitely going on here for them to be doing this. Okay. That's not something you normally do if there's a peacetime scenario. Think of how much money it costs to fly these reconnaissance planes like that, every single day, putting miles on these planes. They don't do it for no reason. So what's going on, Sherry Miller? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Gamer Frog, thank you for gifting 20 memberships. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Gamer Frog. Appreciate that support. Thank you very much. That's very generous of you. Hope you're having a good Thursday night. Do I think Trump will back out of NATO? Absolutely not. No, I don't think Trump is going to back out of NATO. That's just BS. That's BS talk by people that don't really know anything about Trump, and they're trying to make him look bad. And also by some of the pro-Russian segments of the Republican Party. They hope that Trump is going to pull out of NATO, and they hope that Trump is going to turn his back on Ukraine, but he's not going to do that, okay? If you look at Trump's history, Trump is very much pro-Eastern Europe. He's not a big fan of like Germany and France and those countries that have lots and lots of resources, but they're too cheap to spend it and contribute. That's who Trump does not like, okay? And I agree with him on that, because it's not fair for countries like France and Germany and Britain and Italy and Spain. These are the largest economies in Europe, and it's not fair for them to contribute less than countries like Poland or Romania or Estonia or Greece. Okay, it's not fair. And so Trump is mad about that, and he's right. Okay, he's right, because it's not fair for the U.S. to constantly bail everybody out. It's not fair. Okay, and you have these large economies in Western Europe. They have the money, they have the resources. They choose not to for whatever reason. So that's who Trump is upset with. He's not upset with Ukraine or Poland or Romania Okay. And actually, when Trump was president, he actually was responsible for permanently deploying uh, U.S. Army brigades to Poland. Okay. They were doing rotations in Poland. Okay. They started like 9-month rotations. And under Trump, Trump permanently deployed several U.S. Army brigades to Poland. Okay, so Trump is very much pro Eastern Europe. He's not pro Putin. Everybody tries to make him out to be like, oh, Trump loves Putin. Trump loves Putin. That's not true, actually. When Trump says, "Oh, I get along with Putin," he's saying in a negotiation sense, yeah, I get along with him, meaning that Putin respects him and fears him. Okay. Putin even said himself that he would actually prefer Biden because Biden is more predictable. He said that like over a week ago that, yeah, I want Biden in office because he's more predictable. Trump is not as predictable. And just look at history. Okay. When Trump was in office, Putin did not even think about doing anything. Okay. It was when Obama was in office and when Biden was in office that Putin made his big moves, right? Okay. In 2014, okay, that's when Obama was president. What did Putin do? He went after Crimea, right? That was when Obama was president. And then it was quiet during the Trump years. And then what happened? As soon as Biden got into office, he went after Ukraine. Okay. So, I'm not saying that Trump is, I don't know what's in his mind, but I can tell you that he's not going to pull out of NATO. He's very much pro Eastern Europe. He's just against all these Western European bureaucracies that are not pulling their weight. So that's my thought about that. And I actually think Trump will be tough on Putin. Believe it or not, I think he's going to be tough on Putin. I think he's going to help Ukraine. He's not going to waste our money when he helps Ukraine the way that Biden's been wasting money, sending them equipment that's not going to do anything. Okay, just giving them, the bare bones to hold the front line. And even now, Ukraine is losing territory. Okay, so all that equipment, all that money that we spent is basically for nothing now because Russia's taking more land. They're going to start taking swaths and swaths of territory soon, because the Biden administration was afraid to give Ukraine the proper weapons they needed to win the war because they're afraid of provoking Russia and they're afraid of starting a nuclear war. So in the beginning, you remember in the first month of the war, they didn't give Ukraine anything but like flashlights and helmets, and it took them like 2 years. It's been over 2 years and Ukraine still doesn't have the long-range HIMARS singular warhead. They still don't have the fighter jets, okay? And again, it's the U.S. that's providing these fighter jets. It's F-16s. Okay, France is not giving theirs. Other European countries, Western European countries are not giving their equipment. It's always America. We're the ones that are giving everything, and that's not fair. Okay, that's not fair. So that's my opinion. I actually think Trump will be better because I think Trump is going to be tougher on Putin, and Putin is going to have to calculate more versus now he knows that he can get away with a lot of stuff. Okay, I can guarantee you that if Trump is president, Putin's not going to make a move on the Baltics because he knows that Trump is not predictable. Okay, versus Biden, he's already made it clear several times. Oh, we're afraid. We don't want to start a war with Russia. We're afraid, and we look, like a scared dog. Okay, tail between our legs. All right, Trump. He believes in a strong military and in a strong U.S. presence around the world. And all these countries, they respected Trump. They were afraid of him. Okay, now you see all this craziness going on with North Korea, with Russia, with China, because people are not afraid of Biden. They feel like he's an old man and he's a pushover. And that's what it is, in my opinion. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. How's my sound? Am I sounding good still? So, I usually don't like to talk politics, and I'm not like a hardcore Trump supporter. I have my criticisms of him. Okay, it sounds good. Okay. I'm not a MAGA guy, just so you guys know. I mean, I've criticized Trump before, but he has done some good things. I mean, under Trump, Poland has gotten like I think it's like 4 brigades of the US military permanently deployed in Poland. Obama didn't do that. Biden didn't do that. Okay. There was a lot of expansion of U.S. troops in Eastern Europe under Trump. Okay. So, and Putin didn't, Putin was afraid. So, I'm just saying the truth here. I mean, you don't have to like Trump. I'm not saying, yeah, you have to vote for Trump or anything like that. But that's the truth. Nothing happened when Trump was president in Eastern Europe or anywhere around the world. Soon as Biden got into office, we have all these war fronts opening up because people are not afraid of us anymore. Okay, America is not the big dog in the yard anymore under Biden. Okay, we're not the big angry Rottweiler anymore. We're looking more like a little poodle. And so the burglars are not afraid to break in, So we got to get back to being the big Rottweiler, and hopefully Trump or Nikki Haley will make us back to that big Rottweiler, that we are. America has the most powerful military the world has ever seen, and we're not acting like it. We're acting like we're some kind of, tiny little banana republic with 2 tanks and a sailboat, I mean, we have 10 aircraft carriers, 12 aircraft carriers. China has 1. Russia doesn't even have a functioning aircraft carrier. Okay. We have a dozen. I mean, our military prowess is unmatched. Okay. And that's just the truth. I mean, that's just the truth. Look at the numbers. So we have to start acting like it again. That's the problem. Vanessa Dubois, thank you for the donation. Greg, you're the best. Keep up the awesome work you're doing. You're a star. Much love and appreciation for you. Thank you so much, Vanessa. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Tommy Bethany, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. And Mama of 6, thank you for gifting 20 memberships. But once again, most important thing is trusting in Jesus. There's no single person that's gonna, magically change the world. I still believe we're in the end times, and even if Trump does win or Nikki Haley, I don't think it's gonna turn the world around. I mean, the world is still going downhill. Nothing can change that. Okay. All these things going on, and there's no person that can actually turn that back. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Okay. So, all right. I got off on a tangent there. Let me continue here. So here we have this reconnaissance plane that was patrolling over Estonia. Check that out, right on the border with Russia. Okay, looping back and forth. And let me show you guys something here. Here we have some footage showing Israeli forces massing. I don't know exactly where this video was taken, but we have a bunch of Israeli artillery here on the side of the road. I'm guessing this is in northern Israel, or this could be somewhere in southern Israel going towards Rafah. But look at all this equipment, guys. You got all this artillery here. My guess is this is in northern Israel, simply because of the artillery. Okay, they're not going to need artillery if they're going into Rafah. Okay, because Rafah is just a counter-terror operation. So they're not going to be pounding Rafah with artillery. This is potentially for Hezbollah. Okay, look at all this artillery, guys. These are what are known as self-propelled artillery. So they look like tanks, but they're not actually tanks. They're artillery with tracks on them so they can move them around. All right, so this is clearly preparations for a war with Hezbollah. Wanted to just show you guys that, and we're going to talk about Israel some more tonight. Lots of stuff going on with Israel. Let me just read to you some of the latest headlines here. The Maryland State House was on lockdown due to a security threat earlier today. Maryland State Police, Annapolis Police, and Maryland Capitol Police swept the State House based on a phoned-in threat. Annapolis police say nothing suspicious was found at the state capitol building after a threat regarding the building came in around 5 p.m. So nothing suspicious was found with that. That was the Maryland State House. And Texas Governor Greg Abbott said today in a press conference, unfortunately I can't share it because of copyright restrictions here, but he said President Trump, he said, I'll read to you exactly what he said. He said, President Trump showed that when he was in office, he was able to secure the border. And I know that when he is reelected as our president, our border will once again be secured. Okay, so that's what Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, said. He said that Trump is going to secure the border. So basically kind of endorsing Trump is essentially what he was doing. He basically just endorsed him there. So and what else here? The French Prime Minister Gabriel Attal said France may send military personnel to Ukraine for air defense systems and training of the Ukrainian army for protection of borders. Okay, so France is considering sending military personnel to Ukraine for operating air defense systems. Okay, that is huge. And, earlier today, Olaf Scholz, the Chancellor of Germany, leaked out information that British troops have been operating in Ukraine for a while now, and they've been helping Ukraine with the Storm Shadow missiles. Okay, and that is huge news because now, so you have British troops that are helping Ukrainians use British missiles against Russian troops in Ukraine and even out of Ukraine, because I think they use those Storm Shadows outside of Ukraine, or maybe not. I don't know. But that is huge. We had Finland earlier today saying that they would allow Ukraine to use Finnish missiles outside of Ukrainian territory, basically that Ukraine would be allowed to use Finnish weapons on Russian soil. Okay, so that's another sign that the conflict is escalating, guys. Okay, the conflict in Ukraine is continuing to escalate. That's just another sign. Just get prepared. I really have a bad feeling about all this, in Ukraine. I have a bad feeling. I don't know what it is, but ever since the war started, I just knew that it was just going to only escalate. Ukraine is just basically a tug of war between, Russia and the Eastern powers versus NATO and the Western powers. Here we have some footage of a Chinese rocket that was sent up into space. Let me just play this for you. This was earlier today. We don't know the purpose of it, but they sent a rocket up into space. Oh. So pretty interesting. Wanted to just share that with you. Um, and apparently, there's significant U.S. and coalition reinforcements arriving in Syria today. Um, Multiple Bradley fighting vehicles and Chinook helicopters were observed in northeastern Syria. So that's probably related to the ongoing attacks by the Iranian proxies on U.S. bases. So that's pretty concerning. And what else do I have here? North Korea's spy satellite is believed to be alive 3 months after Pyongyang successfully launched it into orbit. Marco Langbroek, a satellite expert at the Dutch Delft University of Technology, said to have detected important and unexpected changes in the object's orbit between February 19th and February 24th. These movements, which he noticed through data from US-led Combined Space Operations Center, suggested Pyongyang has or was controlling the spacecraft from Earth. Mr. Langbroek wrote in a blog post on February 27th, the maneuver proves that Malagyang 1 is not dead. That's the name of the satellite, Malagyang 1, and that North Korea has control over the satellite, something that was disputed. His analysis came after independent radio trackers said not to have been able to detect signals from the satellite. While the true capabilities of the Malagyang 1 remain unknown, the expert stated, now we can definitely say the satellite is alive. On Monday, South Korea's defense ministry reported the satellite was not showing signs of performing tasks or engaging in reconnaissance. Mr. Langbroek acknowledged it is still not known whether the satellite can, as claimed by North Korea, take pictures of sensitive areas on Earth. Yet he stressed that the mere fact it was able to raise its lowest point in orbit, or perigee, from 303 miles to 308 miles was a big deal, as the satellite was not expected to have an onboard propulsion system. The Malagyang 1 presented the third attempt by North Korea to send a spy satellite into orbit. A week after its launch, North Korea claimed the satellite had sent back detailed images of the White House, the Pentagon, and a military base, as well as of 4 U.S. nuclear aircraft carriers and a British aircraft carrier. So North Korea's spy satellite that they recently launched is functional, and it appears to have some kind of onboard propulsion system, okay? So that's not a good sign, guys. That's not a good sign. So John Hoover says much of the ammunition from North Korea was trash. How do you know? How do you know, John? I mean, how do we know? Did we inspect that ammunition? I mean, you have to be careful with some of the sources out there. I support Ukraine, but a lot of the Ukrainian sources, the pro-Ukraine sources, so you have to always kind of scrutinize their information, because they're obviously, just looking at things from their side, and they're trying to basically make the Ukraine look good and make it look like Russia's losing all the time, okay, which is not true. The true situation is that Russia is winning now. It sucks, it sucks, but the sooner that you admit that we admit that, the sooner we can find a solution, okay? But if we just keep saying, Russia's not really gaining, they gained over here, but then they lost over there, or, North Korea is not really sending quality ammo, it's junk ammo. It doesn't matter. Ammo is ammo. I mean, if they send 1 million artillery shells, that doesn't matter. That's still artillery, and they can still pound Ukrainian cities with it, and Ukrainian troops. So it doesn't have to be super duper good ammo, because Russia never had the best equipment. That's not what they're known for. They're known for just fighting with numbers and massive amounts of artillery, okay, and just human waves. That's what they're known for. Okay. And it's working for them. I hate to say it. It sucks, but that's the truth. Ukraine is in dire straits right now. Okay. The Ukrainian front lines are collapsing. Ukraine is out of men. They're out of equipment. NATO is running out of equipment. And that's why they're scrambling now and figuring out what to do, because they've given Ukraine a lot of their artillery and they don't have enough to give away anymore. They can't keep giving Ukraine millions and millions of shells, because then they're not going to have anything for themselves. So that's why, NATO is figuring out, what do we do now? What's the next step? Because we've exhausted a lot of our ammunition. Ukraine has lost a lot of men, and Ukraine has a small population, so they can't continuously mobilize like Russia can. Russia, they have 150 million people. They can mobilize 1 million people like it's nothing, and just send them to the front as cannon fodder, like they did in Bakhmut, and it's not going to affect them that much. Okay, if Ukraine sends 1 million people, that's going to have an effect on their economy. So it's a difficult situation. Ukraine is in dire straits now. I hate to say it. I was optimistic last year. I thought Ukraine was going to push back and counterattack, and I was feeling really good about it. I thought, oh yeah, they got M1 Abrams now. They're going to split the land bridge, but no. So there has to be some kind of new plan. And the West does a disservice to itself by saying, oh, Russia's not going to win, they're going to collapse, they're losing. Well, they haven't collapsed. Their economy is still going. Putin is still in power. They're still making gains every single day. So the sooner we admit it, the better it is. It's like a drug addict. If you're addicted to drugs, the sooner you admit that you're addicted, the sooner you can find treatment, right? But if you just continuously deny, oh, I'm not addicted, I'm not an alcoholic, I'm not a drug addict, I just drink a beer every day or whatever, and you make excuses, you're never gonna get help. But once you come to the conclusion, okay, there's a problem here, then you can figure out what the solution is. But if you're in denial all the time, then there's not going to be any solution. That's just the truth. I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound nasty or anything, but it's just the truth, even if that artillery is junk, it doesn't matter. It's the volume, that's all Russia cares about anyway. They don't need precision munitions, okay? So let's see, what else do I have here? The Speaker of the Armenian Parliament said that Armenia could set a course for joining the EU. That is pretty interesting. Armenia might be joining the EU. That's pretty strange. That's not going to be good for Russia, because Russia, they had control over Armenia and the Caucasus and everything, and now they lost control of Armenia. Armenia was like their satellite country. They had all kinds of military there and everything, and now Armenia wants to join the EU. What's going on, God's soldiers? Good to see you. Jesus is the only way. I agree. I totally agree. Good to see you in here. I hope you're having a good Thursday. What's going on, Smoke and Swamp? Good to see you. Let me see here. There was this strange earthquake last night in the middle of the night, a 5.1 magnitude earthquake in the Russian Arctic. I don't know if this is a glitch, but right here, 5.1 magnitude earthquake north of Severnaya Zemlya, which is literally means northern ground. Severnaya is means north, and Zemlya is like earth or soil. So this is interesting. You can barely see it here. It's all the way up here. Look at that. I don't know if that's a glitch or if Russia was testing a nuclear weapon underwater. I don't know. but a 5.1 magnitude earthquake. It was located at 85 degrees north and 91 degrees east, if any of you guys want to punch that in. But like right over the North Pole. I mean, so far north, the map doesn't even, I can't even show you. Okay, but it's basically right over the North Pole, it looks like. I don't know if that was in Russian territory or what. Or it looks like there's a fault line here. Looks like it was right near this fault line. So I don't know if it was related to this. It's hard. Maybe you guys can't see, but you see this red line here. That's some kind of a fault line or a crust. Yeah, that's a crust. I'm sorry, not a fault line. That's a boundary between the different crusts. I haven't read about the different plates in a while since grade school. I don't remember what plate this is, but it looks like a boundary between the plate where Russia is and the plate where America is, and there was a quake there. So I don't know if that was an underwater test or if that was just a quake. The depth was 10 kilometers, so I thought I would just show you guys that. We do have a lot of volcanic activity around the world. Look at all these volcanoes that are erupting. Check this out. This is from volcanodiscovery.com. Look at all these volcanoes around the world, guys. There was just recently a volcano that erupted in Mexico, Popocatépetl, which is a stratovolcano. If that thing really blows, that would cause a volcanic winter. Okay, so that's one of the volcanoes we got to keep an eye on. I'm going to check up on the fire situation in Texas. We had the Pantex plant. It had to shut down temporarily because of the wildfires in northern Texas. Okay. So what we're looking at here is a wildfire map over the U.S. and all these red squares here are where all the fires are, and you can see a bunch of fires here just to the north of Amarillo, and this is where the Pantex plant is located. Right here, you can see the plant right here. And then just a few miles to the north, you have all these fires here. This is probably about 10 miles to the north. You have all these fires. So the Pantex plant is still operational. The Pantex plant is the primary location for assembling our nuclear weapons. They had to evacuate earlier this week. Some of you guys may remember that. If not, I'll basically just quickly summarize what happened. So they evacuated. Was it Tuesday? I think it was. They evacuated all personnel and they built fire protective barriers around it. There were a bunch of fires within like 3 miles of the plant, and now those fires seem to have been extinguished, probably on their own. I'm assuming they just burned out. Or NASA here is hiding stuff with their fire map. But you can see a bunch of fires still in the panhandle. Okay, this is the panhandle of Texas. Just look at all these fires, guys. That's a lot. And if I zoom out, I mean, you can't really see anywhere that has that many fires right now. Even like in Canada, there's not many. There's a bunch in California, but I mean, there's a severe concentration of fires here in northern Texas right now. And so we got to keep an eye on this area, guys, because it could spread towards the Pantex plant. We'll have to see what happens. So wanted to just update you guys on that, let you know what's happening there. What's going on, Diva's mom? I have to run and finish some things. Be well and sending prayers. Thank you, Diva's mom. It was good to see you. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Alan Kunesh, thank you for the donation. Did you see the Chinese had people sneaking across the Maine border? Yes, I talked about that earlier. Yeah, there were some Chinese nationals that were arrested trying to sneak into Maine from Canada. So that's very concerning. Peggy McGuire says, "What started the fire?" Yeah, that's the big question. Was it sleeper agents? I think it's very possible it was sleeper agents, Russian or Chinese sleeper agents. I mean, they would love to take out the Pantex plant. That would be, a huge thing, because that's where we assemble all our nuclear weapons. So yeah, very possible that there were some sleeper agents responsible for that. Laura Miller, good to see you. Just got here. Thanks, Greg, watching from Currituck. Thank you, Laura, and I will keep you in mind if I ever go to North Carolina, to the Outer Banks. I've always wanted to go there, do some fishing and sightseeing, so I'll keep that in mind. Your offer. Charles Samansky, thank you for gifting 10 memberships. I really appreciate that. I hope you're having a good Thursday. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, or Iranian sleeper agents. Could be Iranian sleeper agents. Britt Jewell says North Carolina is home. Yeah, North Carolina is a beautiful state. I like North Carolina. God's Soldiers, thanks for moderating tonight. I appreciate it. Check out God's Soldiers Watchmen, guys. The moderator in the chat here, he's got a YouTube channel. He's got over 10,000 or 11,000 now subscribers. He does street preaching, Bible prophecy, end times news. Check him out. Bible study. Okay. He's a friend of mine. Good guy. What's going on, Victoria? Good to see you. Yeah, it is absolutely insane, Ross. I totally agree. Absolutely insane. So let me continue with some more breaking news here. Looks like this doomsday plane is back up in the air. Check it out, guys. Let me just readjust the size here. Hold on one sec. We got that doomsday plane that went to Texas. It's now heading out of Texas. Looks like it just took off from Amarillo. Yeah, so I was right. It landed in Amarillo, which is a strange place. I mean, my guess is maybe one of our VIPs went there to check out the situation at the Pantex plant. Maybe the defense secretary wanted to go there and see the Pantex plant and see if there's any threat to it, any imminent threat, and maybe that's what it was. I don't know. I forgot to mention earlier, we had a doomsday plane earlier in the week that flew to Colorado Springs. That's where Cheyenne Mountain is. Okay. I'm going to see if I can find the screenshot of that, but I reported on that earlier in the week. So, nuclear forces are on high alert, guys. Like I said, I know people hate that when I say that, but it's true. It's damn true, as Kurt Angle would say. It's true. It's damn true. Let me just share some other stuff here with you guys. We had a lot of Chinese activity around Taiwan this week. Let me see. Here was Monday into Tuesday. There were 10 Chinese military aircraft and 6 Chinese military vessels around Taiwan. On Tuesday into Wednesday, we had 15 Chinese aircraft and 11 Chinese naval vessels around Taiwan. And then Wednesday into Thursday, we had 19 Chinese military aircraft and 7 Chinese military vessels around Taiwan. That is just insane, guys. If you do the math, that's like 50 or more Chinese military vessels or planes around Taiwan this week. And then here we have Thursday into Friday, 10 Chinese military aircraft and 6 Chinese military naval vessels. So if we add that up, we had, let's start with planes. So Monday, there were 10. Tuesday, there were 15. That's 25. Then there were 19 on Wednesday. 19 plus 25. That's going to be 44. And then today there were 10, so 54 Chinese aircraft around Taiwan since Monday. And let's count the naval vessels. So we had 6 today, 7 yesterday. That's 13. And we had 11 on Tuesday. So that's 24. And then there were 6 on Monday. So 24 plus 6 equals 30. So 54 Chinese military aircraft since Monday, and 30 Chinese military naval vessels since Monday. That is insane, guys. And then we had that incident around the Kinmen Island. Okay, Kinmen Island is that little island just off the coast of China, where we deployed Green Berets to train the Taiwan military. There were several Chinese Coast Guard ships that actually went into the protected waters of the Kinmen Island. Okay, I'll show you guys on the map where that is. Let me pull that up 1 second here, just to give you a visual. But the situation with Taiwan and China is just continuing to escalate. So here we have Taiwan. Just to zoom out so you guys can see. Okay, that's Taiwan right there. And then here you can see Kinmen Island. This is actually owned by Taiwan. This little island right here, Kinmen Island, this is actually owned by Taiwan. This is part of Taiwan's territory. And you can see, I mean, it's literally, 2 miles or a mile off the coast of mainland China. And so the Chinese Coast Guard actually went into Kinmen Island's protected waters, and we have Green Berets here. We deployed Green Berets to this island to train the Taiwan military. Okay, so that's obviously very provocative. So things are escalating everywhere. Basically, there's nothing but escalation. And here we have some video footage of the Russian military with Starlink satellites. Starlink is the Elon Musk satellite internet, and here we have Russian troops showing off their Starlink satellites. Okay, Elon Musk has denied sending Russia Starlinks, but there's a lot of evidence showing Russian troops using Starlinks. Okay, so that's very serious, very concerning. Okay, I don't trust Elon Musk at all. He's not a conservative. He's not a Christian. He's pro gun control. Okay, he wants gun control. He wants to put chips in people's brains with Neuralink, and which is mark of the beast technology. He wants to colonize Mars, and then he's got Tesla. Okay, he wants to basically eliminate the internal combustion engine with his Teslas. Okay, Tesla trucks. They're building Tesla trucks now. Okay, so they're going to get rid of classic diesel trucks, and they're going to replace them with Tesla trucks. So Elon Musk. I know a lot of people think he's some kind of hero for conservatives, but he is not. He's not on our side, guys. Okay, he's a shrewd businessman, and he likes to portray himself in such a way that, oh yeah, I'm pro-conservative, I'm pro-free speech, but he's full of crap. He's the guy that invented Neuralink. Just remember that when you think of Elon Musk, think about Neuralink. Okay, Neuralink, which is mark of the beast technology. What's going on, Tanya Womack? I will say, Twitter is definitely more free speech now, but it's not free speech in a good way, because I have issues on Twitter. People, it's become like the Wild West on Twitter now. It's gone from one extreme to the other, in the sense that before they were, censoring free speech, and now it's like anything goes. Like, people just abuse each other. They say all kinds of vile things about Israel, and it's okay. I mean, if you look up like some of the popular hashtags on Twitter, one of them is like hashtag Israel is a terrorist state. That's like one of the top hashtags now. I mean, all the pro Hamas groups, are on Twitter, and Twitter allows it. They allow, all these friggin' anti-Israeli, pro-Putin groups to, flourish on Twitter. It's gone from like one extreme to the other, unfortunately. Michelle Burson says, I don't trust Elon Musk. Walter says, Elon will do anything for $1. Yeah, exactly. That's right. And I don't know if you guys heard recently with Elon Musk what happened. He turned off Star Shield for the U.S. troops in Taiwan. I don't know if you guys heard about that or not. I reported on that earlier in the week. But basically, Elon Musk has contracts with the federal government, the U.S. government, and he's supposed to provide satellite internet for U.S. forces around the world. That's part of his contract. He signed a contract saying that U.S. forces will be allowed to use Starlink around the world, and he's been blocking U.S. forces from using Starlink over in Taiwan. And so a Republican congressman in Wisconsin sent a letter to Elon Musk saying that he's in breach of his contract with the DoD. He's not allowing the U.S. military in Taiwan to use their Starlink. We're paying for that. We're paying for that service. And he's not allowing it. You know why? Because he's got probably connections with China, and he's doing business with them, and he doesn't want to piss them off by giving our troops Starlink. I mean, it's just ridiculous, and now the Starlinks are showing up in Russia, in on the front lines in Ukraine. Who is this guy? Okay, he's not our friend. He's a traitor, in my opinion. He's working with our enemies, and then on top of that, he wants to stick wires in your brain with a US. He wants to interface people with machines. I mean, that's sick. Who thinks of that? That's just nuts, He wants to colonize Mars. I mean, the guy's just, I don't know if he did too much, hallucinogens when he was younger or something, and his brain is just not, he's not, he's living in like a fantasy land or something, but it's just really bizarre. Yeah, he could be a false prophet for sure. He could be a false prophet. Amy Murchkowski says, I couldn't agree more. You don't have no, I'm not asking you guys to agree with me. If you disagree, that's okay. I mean, I'm just sharing my opinion. That's just my opinion. Everybody's entitled to have their own opinion. Yeah, we should colonize Mars. It's just that we don't have the technology to do it right now. I mean, I'm not against colonizing Mars. I'm just against doing it in a way that's going to put people in harm's way. I mean, do you want to go to Mars and stay there for a year and be a guinea pig? I don't want to do that. I mean, how do we know if that's going to be safe? I mean, it takes a year to get to Mars. With the technology we have, it would take an astronaut a whole year just to get there, and then a year to come back. There's no astronaut that's going to survive that. Okay, the gravity, lack of gravity is going to, I know we have astronauts on the International Space Station that have been up there for like over a year or something, or 2 years, but still, that's a long way. And I don't know. I just think it's not a bad idea. It's just he's kind of like too aggressive with it. We need to plan it out better instead of just sending our boys out there into space and sacrificing them like guinea pigs, New York Adventurer says Elon needs to be in a psychiatric hospital. That's funny. And the Neuralink is the weirdest thing is this Neuralink. I mean, read about Neuralink if you're interested. It's literally they take wires that have the wires that are like the size of a human hair, and they surgically embed the wires into your brain. Okay, and then they have like a port on the side of your brain that they install, like a USB port, and then they can literally plug your brain into machines. Who thinks of that? That's like nuts. It's a mad scientist. Okay. And then that opens the door to them, reading your mind, reading your thoughts. They can plug you in and read, they can download all your thoughts for the last 24 hours. And if you think of something that, is against the system, then they can lock you up and say, oh, you were thinking of doing this. We're going to lock you up for that. That's where it goes. That's where it's going to, but anyway, let me continue with some more breaking news here. There was apparently some kind of a bomb threat in Serbia this evening in Belgrade. There was a flight that was going to go to Barcelona from Belgrade. Wizz Air confirmed that there was some type of a bomb threat on a flight from Belgrade to Barcelona, and they had to evacuate everybody from the plane. Potentially that could be, I don't know what the motive of that would be. It's in Serbia, so maybe some anti-Serbian groups or something. And we have a report from Bloomberg. Bloomberg is saying that Ukraine's strategy is going to be to try to hold the front line as long as possible until the second half of the year. The reason is the upcoming supply of F-16s and ammunition, which will allow Ukraine to plan an offensive in 2025. So that's a terrible plan, but that's what they're trying to do. They think that when Ukraine gets F-16s, that it's going to be a game changer, and it will have some effect, but it's not going to be what they think. They think, oh, they're going to get F-16s. We're suddenly going to just start, bombing the Russians with them. I hope so. I hope that it's going to make a change, but it seems a little bit too optimistic, and so they're not even considering any offensive until 2025. Okay, so what does that mean? That means Russia is going to try to make a big move this year. Zelensky said himself that they're expecting a big offensive in the spring and in the summer. Okay, Zelensky said in his own words that the Russians are planning a big offensive in the spring or in the summer. Okay, so this spring, this summer, we could see, Russia making a huge move on Ukraine. EM, thank you for the donation. And to believe the blank check Congress gave to SpaceX. Yeah, it's so stupid. It's kind of scary that Elon Musk basically controls all of our space program now, and we're reliant on him to give satellite internet to our troops. That's insane. He controls all our space program with all his Falcon rockets. I mean, he's basically like controlling everything. If he wanted to just shut us down, he probably could. Okay. And it seems like he's working for our enemies, for China and Russia. So, we need to get back to, our own space program. Okay. The problem is NASA has become politicized, and all these presidents, they use NASA as a political tool, to talk about global warming and how the ice caps are melting, and that's what NASA is for now. They've become a political tool instead of going back to the old days when we would build our own rockets. Let's see, what other headlines did I have? Oh, another headline, major headline that was missed by a lot of people is that the U.S. military apparently tested their Skynet. Okay, Skynet from Terminator. Okay, they didn't actually test Skynet from Terminator, but they basically have an AI system now that's going to be controlling the entire U.S. military, and they just recently tested it somehow. Okay, so those movies are all accurate. All the movies from the 80s and 90s about everything going on with AI, with Terminator and all those other ones. It's all happening now. I mean, the U.S. military is developing AI to control the entire military, including our nuclear forces. Why do you think the B-2s or the B-21s, the new stealth bomber, is going to be fully capable of doing missions on its own without any humans? Okay, the B-21 Raider is going to have AI in it, so it can make its own decisions during a nuclear war in case our command and control gets wiped out and we have to launch a retaliatory strike, and our command and control, there's no one to fly the plane or to pilot it remotely. The B-21 is going to be able to pilot itself and make adjustments on the fly as needed. Okay, so the B-21 is going to be an AI. It's going to have AI in it. I mean, that is crazy. Okay. So thank you, Z Cali, for tuning in. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you moderating. Really appreciate all your support. Thank you so much, and have a good night. We currently have this nuclear war doomsday plane, presidential doomsday plane, flying over Kansas right now. It just took off from Amarillo, for those of you guys just coming in. We also have this Russian special flight squadron plane that's heading out of Cuba. Okay. Very, very interesting. Let me see. There was some other news here. There's so much news. I want to read to you about all the North Korean weapons that are going to Russia now. This was posted by Business Insider. North Korea's arms factories are going full tilt, making weapons and ammo for Russia's war, says South Korea. North Korean weapons factories are operating at full capacity, making arms and ammunition for Russia, South Korean Defense Minister Shin Won-sik said on Monday. While North Korea's arms factories operate at 30% capacity due to shortages of material and power, certain factories are operating at full capacity, which primarily produces weapons and shells for Russia, said Shin in a press briefing, per a translation by the Yonhap news agency. Shin also said North Korea has provided 6,700 containers to Russia since August. That's enough cargo capacity for 3 million rounds of artillery shells, or 500,000 rounds of 122 millimeter artillery shells. Wow, guys, that is insane. 3 million rounds of artillery since August. That's insane. In exchange, Russia has been sending North Korea food and raw materials needed to create munitions, Shin said. Overall, Moscow is shipping about 30% more goods to Pyongyang than it's receiving from North Korea. Food makes up the bulk of Russia's shipments, which is believed to have stabilized food prices in North Korea, with other necessities also included. Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department estimates that North Korea has sent some 10,000 container shipments to Russia since September. In a sanctions announcement on Friday, the State Department said it's identified the Steve Doring company running Russia's Vostochny port, which the U.S. said has received 7,400 shipments of munitions and military equipment from North Korea. 7,400 containers, guys. That is absolutely insane. That is absolutely insane. Massive amount of equipment going to Russia. So just absolutely crazy, guys. It's just insane. Let me see. What else did I want to share with you guys? Polish farmers are going to start blocking the border with Lithuania tomorrow. They're going to be checking every truck to make sure they don't have grain coming in because apparently Lithuania has been buying Ukrainian agricultural products and then shipping them to Poland under the guise as their own. So basically, the Ukrainian farmers are now apparently moving grain into Poland from Lithuania. I don't know how they could do that unless they're going through Belarus, but I don't think Belarus is allowing. So yeah, Polish farmers are going to be blocking the border with Lithuania starting tomorrow. That's pretty concerning. So yeah, it's not my birthday. That's correct. It's not my birthday. It's not my birthday. What's going on, Kat Swee? Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Becky Heffernan, thank you for becoming a member of the channel. Grimfall Project says, hey, Greg, if you want good scenery with good hunting ground, I suggest a place near Kirkland Lake, Northern Ontario. Yeah, oh yeah, Canada is breathtaking. Yeah, Canada is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I love Canada. It's gorgeous. I would love to live there. The only downside to Canada is the gun laws. I love my guns, and I wouldn't be able to bring them in. So that's the downside. But otherwise, I love Canada. It's beautiful there. Michael Gale says some people are going to different channels and saying happy birthday. Yeah, it's not my birthday. I don't know how that started, but yeah, it's not my birthday. Yeah, there's a ton of natural resources in Canada. You know, Canada is a good spot to bug out. The only downside with Canada is the crazy government there. You know, the leftist government. But other than that, Canada is just super full of resources. You got tons of water, tons of lumber, tons of wild game. You know, good moisture. You know, the only thing is the winters are brutal, but you know that could actually be a benefit if you're bugging out. If it's SHTF, you know, colder climates could actually be a benefit because it's going to keep people away. People are, you know, they're not going to be trying to go to your place if it's cold. Okay, people are not going to want to, and if they try, they're going to freeze. You know, their car's going to break down, or they're going to get stuck somewhere. You know, traveling long distances in the winter in a grid down scenario is very difficult to do. You're not going to have snow plows. You're not going to have salting of the roads. Roads are going to be icy. Roads are going to be covered in deep snow. Okay, so even with the best four-wheel drive vehicle, you're going to have a very hard time. I mean, I have a lifted pickup truck with big tires, and I've gotten stuck in snow, okay, and even as much as just a foot and a half, 2 feet of snow, and most vehicles are going to get stuck. You know, even the most well-built off-road vehicles are going to have a hard time in those kinds of conditions. You know, so you know the cold and the winter is a benefit to preppers in many ways because it creates a natural barrier to, you know, hordes of people that are going to try to, you know, escape to the countryside to look for resources and ransack homes, like people from the big cities. Canada also has very low population, and all the population is in the southern part of Canada, right along the border with the US. So that's a huge benefit. That's one of the main benefits of Canada is low population density, tons of resources, not a lot of nuclear war targets. So that's huge. But the downside is the globalist government in Canada, with Trudeau and all these other guys, So that's the only big downside. We also had these aerial refuelers active this evening off the coast of New Jersey. Check this out. These two right here, Hobie 68, Hobie 69, right off the coast of New Jersey. They've been out there all evening. So I don't know what was going on over here, but pretty interesting. Yes, that's true. If there's a nuclear war, the winters in Canada will be much colder. That's true. That's true. It's very true. Let me see, what other headlines did I want to talk to you guys about? Let's see. If you guys missed my update earlier, I recommend you check it out. I posted an update earlier. For some reason, it had lower views than normal. So if you haven't seen my update from earlier, I recommend you check it out because that's where I shared a lot of important information today. But Finland has basically given the green light for Ukraine to use Finnish weapons on Russian soil. Like I said earlier, Moldova has sent out draft notices to people. Okay, Moldova's preparing for a war with Russia potentially. Okay. We also have some interesting news reported by Newsweek. This is very interesting. A resident of Upton, Massachusetts, made an unexpected discovery during a hike. A balloon with a secret message. Tim Phobes was hiking along the Sandra Pond Trail System in Westboro with his two daughters when they stumbled upon a helium balloon. My oldest daughter pointed out the balloon in the water. I got a stick and fished it out with the intent of just popping it and throwing it away. But when he popped the balloon, a note fell out. Wow. Look at this, guys. You cannot make this up. Okay, this is how Russian spies, that they do all these things. Look, this is insane. This is real, guys. This is not fake. Look. So this guy in Massachusetts was hiking and he found a balloon that was floating in the water, and he was going to pop it and take it out of the water, and there was a note inside of the balloon. Okay, so they inflated a balloon, put a note in it. That's crazy. I wasn't able to read it, but the looks of it, it was written in Russian. So we don't know if this is like a Russian spy. That's how they were communicating. I don't know if anybody can read what that says. But that's one of the ways that they communicate. We also had a Cuban spy station was broadcasting signals. I don't know what the note says. It doesn't say in the article what the note said. But this was in Massachusetts. But there was a Cuban spy station that was very active today. This was reported to me by a ham radio operator, a licensed ham radio operator, and he has a channel on YouTube. It's called Soil Radio Operator. Soil Radio Operator. He's a highly experienced radio operator, and he was saying that there were a bunch of messages that were broadcasted from a Cuban spy station. Okay, I'm going to try to see if I can get the audio going here so you guys can hear it. Let me see here. See if I can do that. It's going to be a little bit hard to hear. It's kind of quiet. Um, Let me play this for you. Hold on. Let me. You may have to turn the volume up. I'm going to see if I can turn the audio up a little bit. You'll hear like a lady speaking in Spanish, like reading different numbers off. That's an encrypted message to Cuban spies inside of the U.S. Okay. He picked this up. He lives in southern Illinois, and he picked it up very clear in southern Illinois, which means that the Cubans were broadcasting this towards their agents, their spies in the U.S. Okay. And so, what these Cuban spies do is they hear this message, they know what frequency it plays on, and they have they can decipher it and figure out what it means. Okay. So I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. It's a little bit quiet. Cuban spies are active, guys. Okay, we do have Cuban spies. And what's interesting is this Russian plane here. This was last night, that recording with the Cuban spy messages. And here we have this Russian plane leaving Cuba now. Okay. So, Russia could be moving, different forces into Cuba potentially. I mean, we just don't know. So we have that doomsday plane still in the air right now, guys. We still have that doomsday plane in the air. But check out my update from earlier, guys. After the stream is over, check out my update from earlier this afternoon. The car horn is at the end. In the beginning, you can hear them saying like numbers like ocho something, ocho, which means 8. Cold War Prepper says, send me the link. I'll translate it for you. Okay, thank you, Cold War. I appreciate it. You can use Google Lens to translate. I also have a Russian friend that I can ask to translate it for me. But yeah, the Cubans are playing. Here's that message if you want to see it. Okay, you can take a screenshot. Cold War, if you're watching right now, try to see if you can take a screenshot. I'm gonna leave it up for a little bit. I just expanded it so you should be able to take a good screenshot and crop it so you can see it better. I don't know if this is some kind of spy stuff or if it was just some hobbyist. Just because it's in Russian doesn't mean it's a spy. But So hopefully you guys could grab a screenshot if you want to, translate. Um, Cold War Prepper says, I wouldn't be surprised if there's 10% of our country is sleeper cells. Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of spies in this country. I mean, we're an open society, so absolutely, there could be tons and tons of spies all over the place. Um, I totally agree. It's a note begging for help. Interesting. Um, Reina says it reads, I ask for a miracle for a new game in the development of humanity where there is no place for cruelty and suffering. Interesting. Wow. Aldo says, be right back. We'll translate. Thank you. Thank you, Aldo. I appreciate it. Yeah, we have all kinds of spies from coming in from Mexico, but they're also trying to come in through Canada now. So yeah, it's a bad situation. Let me see what other news. Oh, I wanted to read to you what Putin said in case you missed what Putin said in his speech. Most of his speech was just about like internal Russian stuff. He didn't openly annex Transnistria today like everybody was thinking. I thought he would. So there's no open annexation that happened today, but it could happen any day. But I'll read to you what he said. He said, the West claims that Russia is allegedly planning to attack Europe. This is just nonsense. There is talk about the possibility of sending NATO military forces to Ukraine, but we must remember the fate of previous armies deployed on our country's territory. Now the consequences for political or potential intruders will be much more tragic. They must understand that we also have weapons to strike targets in their territory. Every tactic the West invents and uses to scare the world invokes a real threat of a conflict involving nuclear weapons, which would mean the destruction of civilization. And he also said about the Ukraine war that we didn't start the war, but we will end it. We will eliminate the NAZIS and achieve all goals and defend the sovereignty of our nation. Our strategic nuclear troops are ready to use the capabilities we have prepared in the field of defense. We delivered Sarmat missiles to our soldiers and will demonstrate them soon. Oh, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said NATO will be in a fight with Russia if Ukraine falls. So that is pretty concerning. Also, the Russian army shelled a Turkish cargo ship, which is pretty interesting. And I wanted to update you guys on that gas attack in Sweden. The Swedish intelligence. So local officials are saying that it was actually phosgene involved in that gas situation at the Swedish intelligence, which local media was saying for a while that, oh, it was, an accident. There was just a gas leak. But it turns out that it was actually phosgene that was detected at the Swedish intelligence headquarters. Sapo is the name of Swedish intelligence. So, yeah, that is sketchy, guys. That was most definitely a Russian gas attack on the Swedish intelligence building. And because that was like either the day before or the same day that Hungary approved Sweden's membership into NATO. So that's pretty concerning. And fuel prices are going up in Russia. Apparently, fuel prices have gone up 20% in Russia, and they now have a shortage, and Russia has been halting exports. So, Russia is feeling some pain here from the war. I said earlier that Russia's economy is doing well. I didn't say that their economy was doing well. What I meant was that their economy has not collapsed yet, like everybody thought. Like, oh, we're going to sanction Russia and their economy is just going to collapse. That's just a stupid Western, leftist thinking. okay, by all the bureaucrats in NATO and the EU, thinking, oh, we're going to collapse the Russian economy. It's so stupid. They are hurting, they're definitely hurting, but the sanctions so far haven't collapsed Russia like they thought, you know. Yeah, we are still at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, yes, as far as I know. But who knows? Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, Cuba. I mean, Cuba's making deals with Russia now. Lavrov went there. 2 weeks ago? Cold War says I'll try to expand it in the morning and work on it. Not the best font for 72-year-old eyes. Sounds good, Cold War. Yeah, just if you can send me an email once you translate it. It is a little hard to read, but hopefully you were able to grab a screenshot. It is hard to read. It's like some kind of script. It's hard to understand what it means for sure. Thank you for doing that, by the way. I appreciate it. Looks like this presidential doomsday plane is heading back to Offutt Air Base. Let me see. What other news did I want to talk about? Oh, the Ukrainian military held off an attack from Russia on one of the key villages in eastern Ukraine. Apparently, they stopped some Russian advance near Orlivka. So that's some good news. But, the Ukrainian general, Oleksandr Syrsky, said that the situation on the front line is very difficult. Okay. And I'm going to share some of the frontline updates in a sec in Ukraine. I want to just go over some earthquakes. Just check some of the earthquakes here. We still have these quakes occurring in Oklahoma. There was a 3.0 on the 23rd, and in northern Oklahoma, I don't know if that's from fracking or something. Here in Tennessee, there was a 2.5 today. That's very interesting. I don't know if that's related to mining or something. Let's see if there's any mines in this area. It doesn't look like there's any mines here. Oh, maybe. No, those are farms. Yeah, these are just farms. I don't see any mines in the area. This looks like middle Tennessee, Cumberland Plateau. So near Pikeville, Tennessee, there was a 2.5 magnitude earthquake today, 13 kilometers deep. So yeah, at that depth, I really don't think it's that it's a mine that would cause that. So I don't know if that's related to the New Madrid fault line. We still have this swarm of quakes, guys, near Puerto Rico. I don't know what's going on here. I covered this a week ago, but look, today there was a 4.0 off the coast of Dominican Republic. Look, check that out, 4.0. And then all these little dots here, all these little dots here are the aftershocks and various types of quakes. Look at that, guys. There was another one here. Look at all these quakes around Puerto Rico. I mean, it's just insane. Wow, lots of 3.0s or more. Let me read off some of these quakes. There was 4.0, 41 kilometers east-northeast of Samana, Dominican Republic, 3.9, 3.8, 3.7, 3.7, 3.7, 3.6, 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, 3.4, 3.3, 3.3, 3.3, 3.3, 3.3, 3.3, 3.3, 3.2, 3.2, 3.2, 3.1, 3.1, 3.0, 3.0, 2.9, 2.9, 2.9, 2.8, 2.7, 2.6, 2.6, 2.6, 2.5, 2.5. All these quakes, guys, around Puerto Rico. So I don't know what's going on here, but we have to keep an eye on that area because I've never seen this many quakes over there before. I don't know if anybody knows anything about quakes and stuff, but I don't think it's too common for there to be that many quakes there. Maybe it's Godzilla. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, Planet X is getting closer. That's true. Yeah, Planet X. Yeah, Planet X is working its way closer. They're on a fault line. Are they on a fault line? I didn't know that. It's a lot of activity. I mean, you have the plate boundary right there. The Puerto Rico Trench is right there, so that would make sense. But it's all localized, like right around Puerto Rico. Look, that's insane, guys. I mean, that's several dozen quakes in the last couple of days. That's pretty crazy. And let's see, anything else here? Any other strong quakes? Nothing super unusual otherwise. So yeah, I wanted to just share that. Let me see what else. I wanted to go over the Frontline map here. Let's see the latest Frontline map. This is coming from Deep State map. I don't know why they call it Deep State. It's funny, that name. But let's see if the Russians advanced at all since yesterday. Not much of an advance today, so that's good. This is Avdiivka here. That was that critical town. And this is Orlivka. This is where supposedly the Ukrainians stopped the Russian advance. But you can see the Russians are like basically halfway through that town. So they're continuing to move west. And if we go back like 2 days, from 2 days ago to yesterday, look at this huge gain that Russia made in one day. Look at that. That's insane. So Russia is on the move. They're on the offensive now. I think this spring and this summer, we're going to see the situation in Ukraine really intensify. I think Russia is going to try to go for Odessa and even also the capital. I think we could see that happen. King says, I'm trying to subscribe to you and it won't work. As I'm forwarded to payment, my screen just goes black and I have to refresh. That's interesting. Are you talking about on YouTube or somewhere else? What's going on? Poor prepping says graveyard shift tonight. How's it going? Thanks for tuning in. Karen Williams says, thank you for all your work. I never miss an episode. Oh, wow. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. It's very nice of you to say. So let's check some other areas here in Ukraine and see if there's any movement near Bakhmut. It's not much movement there. Very little movement near Bakhmut. It's kind of stuck. They haven't really moved much further past Bakhmut. So they took Bakhmut, but they haven't gone much further. But the Ukrainians have been fortifying this area here, Chasiv Yar. They've built a ton of fortifications here to protect Chasiv Yar. But the Russians also launched a huge strike here the other day in Kurakove. They took out this thermal plant, some kind of factory or something. So they're moving more west. I mean, look at how much of Ukraine they've taken. They've taken a whole chunk here. Let's just check some of the radiation levels in Ukraine right now. We'll check some radiation levels now. Here we have the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, which, by the way, now the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant only has one main power line. They lost all their backup power lines. They only have one main power line now, 750 kilovolt power line. They lost all their backup lines, and they've already had to run their generators like 8 times since the war started. So that's very, very concerning. But radiation looks good right now across Ukraine and Belarus. No spikes or anything, so that's good. And let me just see what's going on with radiation around our area here in the U.S. and other parts of the world. See here. So here we have a radiation map, and looks pretty good right now across the U.S. No big spikes anywhere. And then let's check Europe here. No big spikes in Europe either, so that's good. So good news there. Purple Heart 72 says, Greg, no one like you on YouTube. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That's very nice for you to say. Yeah, I'm definitely unique, that's for sure. Thanks for the compliments. I appreciate it. Let's see what else. I want to just go over some more news from this week here. Let's see. Tucker Carlson made an interesting comment about Putin. I don't know if you guys heard about that. So he was apparently doing a podcast with Lex Friedman. I wish I could play it here and we could watch it together, but I guess because of copyright, it's going to be hard for me to do that. But apparently he was on Lex Friedman and he was kind of laughing at what Putin said about denazifying Ukraine. He said that it was childish, and he said one of the dumbest things he's ever heard. So I'll read to you exactly what you can watch the Lex Friedman interview. But he said, I thought it was one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. I didn't understand what it meant. Denazification. I'm merely saying there isn't a Nazi movement in 2024. It's a way of calling people evil, calling Ukrainians Nazis. I thought it was childish. So he said that Putin saying that he has to denazify Ukraine, that's childish, that was one of the dumbest things he's ever heard. So very interesting, and that Tucker Carlson interview was good. Rodney Middleton says, looks like Meta, the new owners of Facebook, and the Australian government are going to have words with one another, as Meta won't be renewing contracts down here for news content. Oh, wow. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, that's weird. I guess, why don't they want to do news anymore? Yeah, Lorna's missing all the fun. Lorna's taking a break. She said she's taking a break. She's taking a break from moderating, so I don't know when she's going to be back. Yeah, I love brisket. Brisket's one of my favorite. Slow cooked brisket. Oh man, super good. Tucker doesn't know the recent history of Ukraine. I just watched Abbott and Trump speech. Abbott is a legend. Yeah, Abbott is really good. Abbott, he's doing a great job at the border there. They're building an actual base at the border. So that's pretty huge, you know. Let me see what other news do I have here. Let me see here. We have an update from France on the fighter jets. France is not going to be giving Ukraine fighter jets, it looks like. France will focus on providing Ukraine with air bombs and not Mirage fighters, French Minister of Defense Sebastien Lecornu reportedly said at a meeting of the country's defense committee on February 26th. According to the French security outlet Zone Militaire, Lecornu highlighted that France needs to pay attention to providing Ukraine with useful and effective military assistance for Ukrainian forces. The defense minister reminded lawmakers that Paris is adapting air bombs, such as the precision-guided A-2SM, to Soviet-origin aircraft that the Ukrainian military already possesses instead of sending Mirage fighters. Lecornu already announced earlier this year that France would supply Ukraine with 50 A-2SM missiles per month until the end of the year. Very interesting. So they don't want to supply the Mirage fighters. The delivery of Mirage 2000D fighters, Lecornu stated, would instead present complicated challenges that could deter the effectiveness of French military support to Ukraine. The Mirage 2000D is a French fighter jet manufactured by the French military and defense company Dassault Aviation. Ukraine has consistently appealed to Western allies to supply aircraft support in the form of fighter jets, including Dassault fighters and F-16s. Zelensky has previously said that Ukraine's allies need to move past their taboo on supplying aircraft to Ukraine. You know what it is, guys, is that France doesn't have a lot of these fighter jets. They're not going to give away their best fighters to Ukraine because then they're not going to have their own. You know, so it's kind of a tough situation for NATO because they don't want to give all their best fighters to Ukraine and then not have their own, you know. So I personally think France just doesn't want to send them because they just don't want to send them, you know, and they're making up a story, it's not useful and effective because they don't want to give them away, which, you know, it's understandable. I mean, if they don't have a lot of them, they don't want to give away their best stuff. You know, because the Mirage 2000 is one of France's main fighter jet, and they're also nuclear capable. So they don't want to give away their best stuff to Ukraine and not have anything for themselves. You know, versus F-16s, I mean, there's, you know, hundreds of F-16s in NATO. So that's not as big of a deal to give away some F-16s, you know. So that's pretty interesting. What else? Any other news here? Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is going to be meeting with Donald Trump soon. And then there was that Russian document, that the Russian documents that were leaked out earlier this week about Russia's nuclear war doctrine. Apparently, their nuclear war doctrine states that the destruction of 20% of Russia's strategic ballistic missile subs would be grounds for using tactical nukes, the destruction of 3 or more large surface warships, destruction of 3 airfields, destruction of 30% of their nuclear attack subs, and a simultaneous hit on main and reserve coastal command centers. So pretty interesting. Just lots and lots of breaking news, guys. There's just so much going on. The Mirage is a fantastic fighter jet. It's definitely one of the best. Thank you, K. Paul, for sharing my nuclear war targets. I'm going to be updating my nuclear war targets, by the way, because I'm going to include civilian targets in that now. because I'm very concerned, for example, that Russia could nuke our farmlands with cobalt bombs, and that they could nuke also our oil refineries in Texas and in Alaska. So let's see what's going on over Scandinavia here, if there's any B-1s airborne today, right now. So let me see what else here. What other news do I have? Some of the main headlines there. I think I covered everything in the last couple of days. There was a German frigate this week that nearly shot down a U.S. Reaper drone. Apparently, they fired 2 missiles at this U.S. Reaper drone. I don't know if you guys remember that, but they shot 2 missiles at this U.S. Reaper drone in the Red Sea. And I mean, that's just so bad. And the missiles actually malfunctioned too. So not only does that show poor communication between allies, but also the missiles themselves malfunctioned, which is bad. There were a bunch of Israeli airstrikes on suburbs of Damascus this week. What else? Let's see here. What other news from this week? The Pope is in the hospital now. Apparently, he caught the flu. The French foreign minister said that NATO troops could be deployed to Ukraine without breaching any belligerence threshold. That's pretty huge. Okay. So some of the main headlines there. And I guess now I'm just going to see what you guys are saying in the chat and talk about whatever. I actually got my elk camera working. I want to show you guys my elk camera. See if I can put it up on the screen. There's no elk right now, but maybe one will walk by. Let me see if I can get that up on the screen for you. Putler wants Alaska, and we have 2 of the biggest reserves of oil in Alaska. Yeah, that's true. Yep. It's very true. Very true. I don't think he would ever actually take Alaska, but, anything is possible, I guess, Anything's possible these days. You just never know. Let's see here. Oh, and tomorrow is going to be that funeral for what's his name? Navalny. Navalny's going to have that funeral tomorrow. So that's going to be pretty interesting. We'll see if anything happens with that. Let me see if I can. I'm going to see if I can share the elk camera. We can watch the elk camera. Let's see. See if I can share this with you guys. There's my elk camera. Check that out. There's no elk there right now, but there's a lot of elk poop all over the place in front of this camera. Let me see if I can show you guys. I'm going to see if I can zoom in here on some of the elk droppings. You can actually see them right there, right under the camera there. You see that little pile there, right there. Those are elk droppings right there. Oh, what happened? Got disconnected. Not sure what happened there. I have a link to my phone, so I don't know what happened here. Trying to reconnect. Okay. Well, got disconnected. I'll fix that. Sorry about that. That's technology for you. See if I can get that back on the screen. Sorry guys, I just want to show you this. It's pretty cool. Guess I can't get it to work. Anyway, let me see, what are you guys saying here in the chat? Don't zoom, it will fog up the camera. Yeah, I haven't seen them walk by yet, but I know the area. They walk by a lot, so eventually they're gonna walk by. There's a bunch of snow on the camera because last night we had some snow, so there's a bunch of like snow kind of blocking the camera a little. Tanya Womack says, going to get food. Maybe you will still be here when I get back. Thank you, Tanya. I appreciate it. Good night, Peggy. Thanks for tuning in. The elk hacked it. No, I'm not in Alaska. I'm in northern PA, northern Pennsylvania. No, I'm not in New York. No. I moved out of New York 2.5 years ago. I'm in north central Pennsylvania in the Pennsylvania wilds. That's where I live. What's going on, Kate of Buckingham? Good to see you. Lily says those elk videos are so fun listening to you whisper. Yeah, I got a lot of elk videos even from the rut in the fall. I have videos of elk, like giant bull elk, like walking within 15 yards of me. So one of them actually chased me into my car. It was pretty intense. I've seen them fighting up close. It's pretty cool. I have a lot of footage of some fights, so that's going to be coming out in the coming days and weeks. Elk hunting season in PA is they have like 3 short seasons, 1 week each one. They have one in September, they have one in November, and then they have one in January, and they're like 1 week long each one. The bow season is in September. The rifle is like first week of November, and then they have like a late season in January, which I think is just for cows. So Roxy says hi from Quadra Island, British Columbia. Wow, British Columbia, that's awesome. Beautiful area. Love what you're doing. Keep it up. Thank you, Roxy. I appreciate that. Joe Jackson says I'm in central Indiana. I was in Indiana last year for the NRA convention in Indianapolis. I was there. There's some really nice sunsets in Indiana. It's really flat, and when the sun goes down, it's beautiful. You can see like the sky. The sky is like wide open. You can see for a long distance. Really nice sunsets in the Midwest. I remember when I was going out there and the sun was setting, and it was just gorgeous. The big open sky over the farms. Come down here to Florida, always gator season. Oh, really? That's pretty cool. How many times a year can you hunt gator? That's interesting. How many seasons do they have? That's pretty cool. All of my neighbors are Amish. Oh yeah, there's a lot of Amish people in Indiana. Indiana, Ohio, and PA have the most Amish in the whole country. Let me see here. Is there some other stuff I wanted to share? See here. Looks like the Doomsday plane just landed in Offutt Air Base. Doomsday plane just landed, and then we have that Russian plane here. Nothing over Europe right now. It's quiet over Europe. Good night, K. Paul. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate the support. Appreciate your moderating. You moderating tonight. You always do a really good job when you moderate. Thank you so much. Mama of 6 says I'm having a lot of problems with YouTube. Oh, by the way, Mama of 6, I got your email. I'm going to respond later, but I got your email. Thank you for letting me know about that. Thank you, K. Paul, for sharing my last update. Yeah, check out my update. Check out my update from earlier this afternoon. For some reason, it wasn't as popular as some of my prior videos. So if you haven't seen my update from this afternoon, go ahead and watch that. There's all the latest breaking news there. A lot of the stuff that I talked about today, but check that one out. Aldo says I grabbed the Guinness. Oh, Guinness is good beer. I like Guinness. Kate of Buckingham, thank you for that generous donation. Wow, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. It's very kind of you. I hope you're doing well. It's good to see you in here. I haven't seen you lately. Yeah, Kate of Buckingham, she's awesome. She's one of the top channel supporters. She's the best. Thank you so much. Grizzlies are big in British Columbia. Yes, grizzlies are massive in British Columbia and in Canada. They get huge. Um, yeah, I heard that because Canada has such strict gun laws that you can't even. It's very hard to get. I think Canada banned pistols, from what I understand. I have some friends in Canada. I have a friend who's on YouTube, a prepper on YouTube that's from Canada, northern British Columbia, and they can't carry pistols in Canada, so they have to carry like long guns when they go into the woods because Canada it's like impossible to get a pistol now. I think Canada outlawed pistols, from what I understand. Um, Pistols are banned. Yes, pistols are banned. Yeah, that's right. They ban them like a year. I think it was a year or two ago. They signed the bill. Um, so stupid. You got all these apex predators in Canada. You got grizzlies, you got wolves, you got mountain lions. They also have moose there that can trample you. They have even bison, and you can't even carry to protect yourself in the wilds. I mean, we're not even talking about carrying on the street in the city where there's people, and we're talking you can't even carry in the wilds. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Um, not trying to bash any of my Canadian friends and followers. I'm bashing the government because it's just ridiculous. Um, it's just ridiculous that they don't allow people to protect themselves. It's really unfortunate, you know. Um, Amanda says, I wouldn't want to tango with a small grizzly. Yeah, I mean, even a small black bear, it doesn't matter. I mean, a bear is a bear, whether even a 200-pound bear. I mean, just think like a pit bull, right? Pit bulls are actually not big dogs. They only get up to like 70 or 80 pounds at the most. They're not huge dogs. Even a pit bull is something that could be dangerous. Okay, and pit bulls can't climb trees. They don't have paws and claws. Okay, they can just bite you, and that's it. That's a dangerous animal. Think about a bear, even a young bear that's 150 pounds. Okay, a 150-pound bear is bigger than a wolf. Okay, and they have paws that they can manipulate things with, and swipe you, and they can climb. Um, let alone a 4, 5, 6, 700-pound bear. You're talking about an animal that's 10 to 20 times stronger than the strongest person. You know, um, so yeah, I mean, even a small bear is potentially dangerous. Let alone a big bear that's fully grown. I mean, that's extremely dangerous. That's a serious force to be reckoned with in the wilds. Um, so I was watching a video the other day. It came up on my I think it was on the shorts on YouTube. A short popped up, and it showed this guy. It must have been in Europe somewhere. Maybe it was in Canada or Alaska. I don't know. This guy was riding a what is it called? Dirt bike. Okay, he was riding a dirt bike in the woods, and I guess when he was riding his dirt bike, he ran right over a bear den, and he didn't know it. And this freaking massive brown bear just popped out of the ground and just started like chasing after him. And the bear was actually attacking his dirt bike. The bear was like biting on the dirt bike and like tossing the dirt bike. Like their raw power is just insane. I mean, their raw power is It's just absolutely crazy how strong they are, and they're also extremely fast too. You know, they can cover ground very quickly. So, you know, their senses are just really incredible. I wish I had this video so I could share it, but you know, I can't. It was the craziest thing. The guy was riding his dirt bike, and he literally drove over a brown bear den, and the bear woke up because the bear was like, "What the hell is this? You know, this freaking dirt bike riding over me." And the bear woke up out of its sleep and just attacked the bike, and the guy jumped off and was running away. Luckily the bear didn't go after the guy. You know, it was a crazy video. um I was chased by a mama moose and saw a moose flip over a dump truck. Oh wow, that's interesting. Wow. Where was that? Well, was that in Canada? I forget where you're from, Salt and Prepper. Campbell Clan, it's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Ross says I would be screaming. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure you would be. I would be too. Yeah, and you know, things like that happen so fast. You know, by the time you comprehend what's happening, you know, like I carry a pistol anytime I go into the woods, or even, you know, I conceal carry every day. But like, it happens so quick, and it's like by the time you comprehend what's going on, it's like sometimes too late to respond, because it's just like this shock, like, oh crap, this bear is charging me. And by the time you comprehend, oh my gosh, I got to do something now, there's a delay from when you know, draw your pistol out. It could take you a few seconds and the bear is already on top of you, you know. um I will show you the video. It's crazy. It's a crazy video. um Bears have a quicker 50-yard dash than a deer. Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. How soon do I see things unfolding? I think this year. I think this year we're going to see. I think we're going to see something happen this year. I think, you know, between NATO and Russia, I think we're going to see something happen in the Baltics this year. And I think in Ukraine, I think Russia is going to make a big offensive soon. They massed, you know, 50,000 troops in southern Ukraine and Kherson Oblast, and they could potentially be going with those troops to, you know, Odessa. That's something that I'm concerned with. You know, another massive Russian push. Now that Ukraine has run out of ammo and the West is running out of ammo, now's a perfect time for Russia to launch a huge counterattack, and they could even take more land, you know, more territory. And the time to do all of this is actually going to be now, before the president changes, before Biden gets elected, or before Biden leaves office. Putin is going to want to do all of this now, because he doesn't want the risk that, you know, Trump gets in office, or Nikki Haley, and they're going to change their policy and their attitude to Russia. So if anything's going to happen, it's going to be this year before the election. I think Putin is going to make a big push in Ukraine, potentially, to try to go for Odessa, maybe take more land in other areas of Ukraine. I think he's going to potentially go after the Baltic countries. I'm very concerned about that, that he could go after the Baltic countries. You know, we're seeing all this reconnaissance in the Baltics. We have this huge exercise going on right now in Eastern Europe, 100,000 NATO troops, the biggest exercise since 1988. Okay, they're not doing that for no reason. There's obviously a threat there. So yeah, I think it's going to pop off this year. I think we're going to see massive escalations this year. And then you have Israel and Hezbollah. Okay, I think they're going to go into Lebanon pretty soon. The latest estimate is early summer or late spring is when Israel's going to go into Lebanon. They've already detonated some of the minefields on the border with Lebanon so they can clear the way for their tanks and equipment to go in. They did that the other day. So yeah, Israel's going to go into Lebanon. Russia is going to potentially go after the Baltics or try to take more territory in Ukraine, potentially something with Transnistria. So those are the areas that I'm watching. I'm watching the Baltics and Poland and Eastern Europe. I'm watching Ukraine for another big offensive by Russia. And I'm also watching Lebanon. Those are my big three that I'm most concerned about. And then the wild cards are North Korea and China doing something. Those are the wild cards. I personally don't think China's going to go after Taiwan soon. It's very possible that they could, especially if it looks like Trump is going to be very strong against China and very supportive of Taiwan, which we know Trump is very supportive of Taiwan. So it is possible that China could make a move this year also against Taiwan because Trump was very pro-Taiwan. Biden is not so tough against China with Taiwan, you know? So China could think, okay, maybe we got to seize the opportunity and go after Taiwan now before Trump, takes over. That's something I'm concerned about too. So, but it's hard to say because China plays the long game. For them going into Taiwan, it's more hassle than it's worth. If let's say they do go into Taiwan, right? What are they going to really gain by doing that? They're not going to really gain much. Okay. I mean, yeah, there's a chip factory over there. But factories for China, that's nothing, a dime a dozen. China has so many factories. If they want to build more chips, they can do it. They don't need Taiwan's chip factory. Okay. So going into Taiwan for China is more of a hazard and more of a risk than it is worth it because Taiwan is very well armed. They have Patriot missiles. They have like hundreds of Patriot missiles. They have a lot of F-16s. They've been preparing for a war with China since like 1970 or something, or 1950. I can't remember. But Taiwan has had decades to prepare. It's not like Ukraine, where Ukraine has only been preparing since 2014, or actually 2016 is the last, since Ukraine's been preparing for 6 to 8 years. Taiwan's been preparing for like 50 years. Okay, so they have a lot of equipment. They have a lot of everything is very well prepared there. So it's not going to be easy for China to take Taiwan unless they just nuke it. But if they nuke it, what's the point of doing that? They're not going to gain anything by doing that. So a ground invasion of Taiwan or a blockade of Taiwan is not going to be easy to do for China. It's going to be very painful. It's going to cost them money. They're going to lose equipment. And for China, it may not be worth it for them. It may be too expensive, too much hassle. Charles and Christina, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. And I saw your emails. I'm going to check those emails you sent me, and I will respond. Thank you so much for that donation. I really appreciate it. Talon, thank you for the donation. Will Joe Biden start World War III to avoid a Trump victory? That's a theory that a lot of people have. I mean, it's very possible. I don't know. It's very possible that he could do something like that. Yeah. Who knows? I think it's very possible. Absolutely. But I'm not 100% sure either. Lynn Dunn, good to see you, Lynn Dunn. I hope you're doing well. I hope everything's going well with you. Mama of Six says I need to take medicine and get some rest. Thank you, Mama of Six, for moderating and hanging out. It's good to see you. And I'm going to keep you in my prayers so you heal fast. And I'm going to check your email and respond. What loads do I carry for the Glock and the Ruger? I carry hand loads. I have some hand loads that I developed for the 10 millimeter and the 44 and the 500 Magnum. My personal favorite is I have these solid copper bullets from Cutting Edge Bullets, and I have some hand loads that I made for them that are really hot, and they penetrate really well. So that's what I usually carry. But if you're not a hand loader, then check out like Buffalo Bore. Buffalo Bore makes really good ammo. They have all different kinds, but I've done a lot of ballistic testing, and when it comes to bear protection, these days I actually prefer solid copper bullets over hard cast. A lot of guys like the hard cast. The problem with hard cast bullets is they're not actually super hard, and they can still break apart. They're very brittle, and they're also kind of on the softer. They're softer than copper, so they don't. They tend to flatten out a little bit and deform a little. They can also shatter too. So these days I'm using mostly copper bullets, hand loads. But hard cast bullets work great. You can get them from Buffalo Bore if you're not a hand loader. That's my recommendation. And I've done some videos with some tests with some of those. Rasputitsa is the mud season. It begins very soon. I've done a video on those. Chris Dunlop, I've already done some videos. I haven't uploaded the penetration tests with them yet. I still have to edit them, but I've done some chronograph tests with my hand loads. If you want to check them out, they're in my trying to think which playlist they're in. They're in my reloading playlist. I have a whole series of videos on max hand loads, and I've done some videos with them. I just have some tests that I did that I have to still edit. No, I don't cast lead. No, I don't cast lead. That's one thing I haven't started doing. I've never got into casting lead. Simply because jacketed bullets are superior in many ways to all lead bullets. So I just never saw the need to. Aldo says use a 158 grain buffalo bore for deer. What's my opinion on sleeper cells? I think there's a lot of them. I think we have a ton of sleeper cells in the U.S. Chinese, Russian, Iranian. I think there's a lot of Russian spies here. I think there's Chinese also, but I think honestly Russians probably the most, because Russia has the most well-developed intelligence of all those countries. You got to remember the KGB was, the biggest intelligence agency in the world at one point, bigger than the CIA. So the remnants of the KGB still exist, So yeah, I think we have a lot of different spies. So I'm going to be doing some more nuclear war survival stuff, guys. I'm going to be updating some of my nuclear war videos and stuff. Red Dawn. Yeah, there could be a Red Dawn situation here in the U.S. There could be another Red Dawn. Yeah, that's definitely possible. Maybe that's why they're moving That's why Russia is flying to Cuba so much. Maybe they're moving forces there. Who knows? But this plane is really interesting. This Russian plane. Um, what's going on, Jeremy Olson? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Tanya, I thought you were going to sleep. That's the Russian plane coming out of Cuba. That's some Russian special flight squadron plane. Let me just see if there's anything else here I can. Breaking news coming in from Germany. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, at a meeting with residents of Dresden on February 29th, gave a new argument for not transferring long-range Taurus missiles to Ukraine. Scholz said that the Taurus, a missile with a maximum range of 500 kilometers, is a weapon that, in case of incorrect usage, could hit certain targets somewhere in Moscow. That's why I'm speaking in all diplomatic abstraction. Others have also made sure they know where everything goes. So basically, he's afraid that Ukraine could hit Moscow with the Taurus missiles. That's why he doesn't want to give them to Ukraine. And I'm sure Ukraine would try to do that. I'm sure they would try to hit, Putin's bunker or something, and Germany doesn't want to be responsible for that, So Trump and Biden have both arrived at the U.S. border with Mexico. Very interesting. The FBI was raiding. They raided the home of Eric Adams' aide, an aide of Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City. It's very interesting. Very interesting. The U.S. is saying that Putin's nuclear war remarks are irresponsible. The United States on Thursday denounced Russian President Vladimir Putin's warning of a risk of nuclear war as irresponsible. It's not the first time that we have seen irresponsible rhetoric from Vladimir Putin. It is no way for the leader of a nuclear-armed state to speak, State Department spokesman Matt Miller told reporters. Interesting. Bulgaria is going to be sending 100 BTR armored personnel carriers to Ukraine within the coming days. That's not a lot, 100, but for them it's a lot for Bulgaria because Bulgaria doesn't have a lot of stuff. That's a lot for Bulgaria. That's a lot because you figure they probably only have a few hundred. So if they're giving 100 away, that's a significant amount for Bulgaria. Now Bulgaria is having to send equipment to Ukraine. So that tells you right there that Ukraine is not in a good situation if Bulgaria is having to send equipment. But huge news. British soldiers in Ukraine are helping Ukraine to fire missiles. That was some big news today. That was some very big news. The media is not covering all of this. Everybody's so focused on the election. A lot of the usual mods are here, actually. Like Ross is here. Aldo is, he's been a mod for a while. So yeah, I think a lot of the mods might have went to sleep already because a lot of them don't stay up late, So I think a lot of them just went to sleep. Emma says, I really appreciate these updates live or pre-recorded. Thank you, Emma. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm going to have more updates tomorrow, obviously. So, Rodney Middleton, have a good night. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Campbell Clan says, I doubt France will send troops. They are all talk and no action. Yeah, it's probably France wants other countries to send their troops. They want everybody else to send their troops. They probably want like Bulgaria and these other countries to sacrifice their troops, So that's probably what it is. Salt and Prepper says, I don't listen to normal media. I listen to you and a few others for info. The media is all lies, CNN or Fox. Yeah, it's all just political and everything is just spinned, a certain way. It's really unfortunate, There are some programs like Fox News. They have some good programs like Bret Baier. I like Bret Baier. He's always pretty kind of middle of the road. He leans conservative, but he's not like skewing things to fit his narrative in every broadcast or anything like that. Bret Baier's good. Jansen says, I'm still not fully convinced we will get nuked versus EMP. Yeah, it's hard to say. Anything's possible. My analysis is that they wouldn't just hit us with an EMP without nuking us afterwards because it would be a wasted opportunity for them. Why hit us with a nuke and not go all the way and or why hit us with an EMP and not go all the way and nuke us, It makes sense because if they EMP us, it's going to take out all our electronics, a lot of our military communications and stuff. And it makes sense to just go all the way and follow up with nukes, Otherwise, it would just be a wasted opportunity. And plus, we could retaliate also. If somebody, people think, oh, the U.S. is just going to get hit with an EMP and we're not going to do anything about it. It doesn't work that way. We're going to retaliate, okay? We could nuke Russia, China, and Iran and North Korea simultaneously. Anybody we suspect of being responsible for the EMP would be nuked. So by them hitting us with an EMP, it exposes them to a retaliatory strike. And so, if they're going to EMP us, they run the risk of getting nuked when we respond back. We're not just going to get EMP'd and do nothing. Maybe with Biden in charge, it's possible, but there's going to be a retaliation. We're not just going to sit back and do nothing about it. So, our retaliation would be devastating. So they're going to have to make it worthwhile, So that's why I think an EMP by itself is less likely. And it's more likely that it's going to be an EMP plus a full-scale nuclear strike, a surprise attack. So if the lights go out for no reason and everything goes dark, expect there to be warheads coming. That would be the first sign that warheads are coming, is that everything suddenly goes dark. Chris Dunlop says you respect my work. Thank you, Chris Dunlop. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Our missile symptoms are Faraday caged. They can't take out the U.S. The lights go out for us only. Yeah, exactly. All of our military, especially our nuclear forces, are protected against EMP. So it would mostly affect our civilians. And again, we're not just going to sit back and do nothing. If they hit us with an EMP, we're going to respond. We're going to respond. So it's a risk for them to just do nothing. You know what I mean? It just only EMP us and do nothing else. It doesn't make sense. That's like, it's just doesn't make sense. Have a good night, Lynn Dunn. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I hope you have a good day at work tomorrow. So tomorrow we're gonna have all those. We're gonna have that funeral in Moscow tomorrow for Navalny. We'll have to wait and see if there's any, riots or anything that come about from that. If the Russians start to riot, if anything happens, I'll go live and cover it. Obviously. Crypto would be lost during an EMP. Yeah, it definitely would be. That's for sure. Yep, crypto would definitely be lost. Let's see, what other breaking news here do I have? Yeah, Russia is going to be banning the export of petroleum for 6 months. That's a long time, guys. 6 months. They're not going to be exporting gas for 6 months. So Russia has some kind of fuel crisis right now. Maybe that's the beginning of some kind of economic collapse in Russia. Who knows? Maybe it's going to spiral out of control from the fuel to other stuff. We could see that happen because they've been spending so much money on fuel and everything else, and they're using it all, on the front line. So. Do I have a red line? What do you mean a red line? I'm not sure what you mean about a red line. John, I got your email about the North Korean ammo. Thanks for sending that. I didn't get a chance to read it yet. Remember the Russian apartment blocks that were all frozen up a couple of months ago? Yes, I remember that. Yeah, the people in Russia were complaining. They were complaining that they didn't have heat. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, who knows? I mean, think about that. That's pretty serious that Russia is no longer exporting any fuel for the next 6 months. Oh, you know what that could be a sign of? Uh, I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier. Maybe because Russia's planning a huge offensive now, and that's why they're not exporting any fuel the next 6 months. Think about it. They're going to need the fuel if they're going to do a big offensive. And Zelensky himself said that Russia is planning an offensive in the spring and summer. So that could be a sign that Russia's planning something. If they're not going to export fuel the next 6 months because they need all the fuel for their military. Wow. Wow, the light bulb just went off in my head. Yeah. I'm extremely concerned. If they're not going to be exporting fuel for the next 6 months, think about it. That's right through the summer. 6 months from now, that's April, May, June, July, August, September. Okay. That's like prime time for Ukrainian soil is dry over after April or whatever, May, the ground starts to dry up. So that's what I think. Now that I think about it, that could be why. Maybe possibly fuel shortage too. It's hard to say, but that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, we could see a big offensive this year by Russia. Um, yes, that's why only a 6 month ban. Right. Yeah, because they need all the fuel for themselves. Good night, Zion Walker. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I streamed pretty early, 9 p.m. There's a lot of people that stream even 10, 11 p.m. I think Marfugal News streams at like midnight. So. Rod says, Greg, if we get hit by an EMP, would I lose power to my battery station if it's not plugged into the receptacle? And would my Baofeng work? Your Baofeng radios would have to be in some kind of Faraday bag or Faraday cage. You can get like Ziploc bags that are made out of Mylar. That's what I have, and I put my electronics in those. Yes, your solar battery. Your battery, if it has any kind of electronics in it, which most of them do, it would get affected. The electronics would get damaged potentially, and you wouldn't be able to operate the battery. The battery itself would be fine. It's just the electronic controller that controls the battery would be fried, and you wouldn't be able to control it. So you would have to put your battery. Best thing to do is get some Mylar in bulk. You can get Mylar rolls online. They're not that expensive. Get like a roll of Mylar, and you can make like a simple Faraday cage out of, even like a garbage can. Line it with Mylar, or you can make like even just a cardboard box or You can get like a plywood box. Take some plywood and take the Mylar and glue the Mylar to the inside of the plywood and just stick that power bank inside of that box. Just make a wooden box and then make sure it's all sealed up good inside or on the outside as well, whatever. Zion says, I don't stream too late. I just wish I could be here the whole time. Thank you, Zion. I appreciate the thoughts and prayers, and thanks for staying up late with me. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Maduro is laughing. Yeah, Maduro is probably laughing. Yeah. Doesn't matter if the device is on or off. Yep, exactly. A metal trash can. Yeah, a metal trash can work as a Faraday cage for sure. But what you could do is, yeah, generator could potentially be vulnerable too. Yes, a generator because of the electronics. Anything with electronics is what usually gets affected by man-made EMPs are affected. The biggest effect is on electronics. There could be some power surges on our main transmission lines. Uh, Transformers would blow. But yeah, any kind of electronic. Think of anything with an electronic circuit, and most generators have like electronic circuits. Unless you have an old school generator that doesn't really have any electronic circuits, and you can just start it with a pull cord and just plug it in, then yeah, that would probably be fine. But if it's like a solar generator that has like a little electronic controller, that's going to be affected. So like I said, get a piece of get some plywood, cut some plywood up into a box, and then line the inside of the box with mylar. Glue the mylar with some, whatever kind of glue you can use, different types of glue, and just make sure it holds good, and then you should be fine. Smoke and Swamp says Ukraine has been targeting the Russian oil refineries. Yes, that's true. Yeah, it could be because of that. It could be because Russia's hoarding fuel for their big offensive. I think it's a combination of both. I think that Russia has run out of fuel because they've used so much so far, and then their refineries have been hit by Ukraine. But also, I think because they're going to be going on the offensive soon, so they need as much fuel as possible. Um, so how many layers of mylar? Just one good layer of mylar is all you need. Even if you get one of those space blankets, you can buy the emergency blankets for like $1. They're probably like $2 or $3 on Amazon. Those emergency blankets, that you put in your bug out bag. Those are made of mylar. You can even get some of those and cut it up, and then just glue it. Um, inside of a plywood box, and you should be good. Um, is the Mylar Ziploc bag enough protection? Yeah, one is enough. Yeah, Mylar, because you got to remember we're talking about an electromagnetic pulse. We're not talking about lightning. Okay, it's a very weak pulse. It's not like lightning, where it's like thousands of volts or something. It's a very weak pulse that mostly damages electronics. So one layer of good quality mylar should be enough. Um, even like aluminum foil would work. But mylar's better. It's more dense, and it's more it doesn't tear. Mylar's doesn't tear. It makes it easier to work with. So yeah, you can get a bunch of those emergency blankets and just cut them up and make some boxes out of plywood and just line the inside of the boxes with it. And that should be good enough. Um, so you know, that's my recommendation. Do I have a video on EMPs? No, I don't actually. I should make a video on it though. You can also buy like these giant EMP bags. I have some of them. These giant EMP Ziploc bags, you can fit a whole solar generator in them, but they're expensive. You don't really need that. You just need some plywood and mylar. Another thing you could do is if you have like a room in your house that you can just line with mylar on the walls, and the door, and seal it good, and then just put everything in there. That's another option. I don't know how many people have that option though, but that's another option too, is you can build like even an entire shed, and the shed, you can fit everything in there and line the inside with several layers of mylar and seal it up good. That's another option too. What's going on, Bailey? How's it going, Bailey? Good to see you. I was mentioning those B2s near your house earlier. John Hoover says use spray glue, quick and easy to cover a large area. Apply the Mylar and then smooth it out with a rubber squeegee. Yeah, that's exactly right. A spray glue. That's an excellent idea. Excellent idea. You know, Mylar's pretty incredible. I mean, it's pretty tough stuff. You know, Mylar. It was first used by astronauts. You know, they have that's why they're called space blankets to protect if there's like a fire on a spaceship or on the some space station. They want to contain that fire so it doesn't spread. They have those blankets so they can smother the fire with it. So yeah, Mylar is tough stuff. You know, it's pretty good. You know, it's a good material. It'll definitely protect from an EMP for sure. How much notice would we have before an EMP? We wouldn't have any notice. It would happen by surprise. And there would most likely be a follow-up nuclear strike after that. So, you know, it would be a double whammy. It would be EMP followed by nukes. So, you know. John says the old 35 millimeter lead line bags used to put film through airport x-ray is great for protecting cell phones. Also stops signals so your phone can't be tracked. That's a good idea. Won't be logging into anything with an EMP. Yeah, for sure. All the towers are going to be down. Tanya says you're so smart. And yeah, no problem, Tanya. Thanks for all your support. I appreciate it. It's good to see you. I thought you were going to go to sleep. What's going on, Jeremy? 1993 Desert Storm vet here, USS Ranger, Navy. Oh, wow. That must have been interesting. Were you on the ship when they were bombarding Iraq with all the missiles during Desert Storm? Let me see if there's any other breaking news here. Yeah, so yeah, it looks like very interesting. Interesting situation between Poland and Ukraine. The plot thickens. So a bunch of Ukrainian journalists were arrested by Polish border guards the other day, and they seized a bunch of the Ukrainian journalists' information, or they seized their data cards and stuff and their camera equipment. So they were the Ukrainska Pravda media outlet, and they're now saying that an investigation by Ukrainska Pravda journalist Mikhailo Tkachak has revealed how hundreds of Polish trucks carrying Russian agricultural products are traveling through Belarus to Poland and back. The Ukrainska Pravda film crew asked a man to call a Polish company and pretend to be the manager of an actual Belarusian company. He explicitly offered to sell Russian rapeseed accompanied by Belarusian documents. The manager of the Polish company asked him to email the terms and conditions. Yet Poland banned the import of rapeseed from Ukraine in September 2023 following protests by farmers Since then, the volume of products that have continued to arrive from Belarus has been steadily increasing. They say here, near the Kukuriki checkpoint, we found hundreds of trucks that had entered Poland from Belarus without any obstacles. Judging by our conversations and representatives of agricultural firms, Russian agricultural products first go to Belarus, where they are loaded onto Polish registered trucks at special centers. Very interesting. So, yeah, it looks like the wedge between Poland and Ukraine has been driven, and looks like the relations between Poland and Ukraine are going to continue to degrade, unfortunately. What's going on, roaming prepper? I shared a video of yours earlier today, your video on concealed carry. Yeah, so it looks like Poland and Ukraine are their relations are just going to worsen, I think, over time, unfortunately, because what's going to happen is Polish people are going to start to feel like they're not being appreciated, that the Ukrainians are complaining too much, and then the Ukrainians are going to feel like the Polish people don't care about them, and it's just going to get worse and worse. Hopefully they can figure something out, but it's not looking too good right now because, I think both sides are kind of, they're going to be more and more upset with each other as time goes on. Real estate photography says combat medic. Interesting. It's a good skill to have.